Have you ever flipped over the tag on your favorite piece of gear, looked at all the technical specs, and just your eyes glazed over? It's like trying to read a different language, right? Well, today we're going to crack that code. Let's jump right in. So, what is it? What's the secret sauce that makes a performance fabric actually perform? Well, it all comes down to a few key numbers and terms, the specs that control everything from how a fabric feels to how it stretches and breathes. And yeah, this is what we're talking about. A chart like this looks pretty intimidating. I get it, it's a wall of numbers. But I promise you, by the time we're done here, you're going to be able to look at this and know exactly what it means. Every one of these columns tells a story. So here's our game plan. We're going to break this down piece by piece. First up, the basic fabric types. Then we'll get into fabric weight, or GSM. After that, we'll tackle thread thickness with a little something called Denier. And finally, we'll see how stitch and strength tie it all together. All right, let's start at the beginning with the very first column on that chart, fabric types. You can think of these as the basic blueprints of the material. We're looking at two main players here, single jersey and interlock. So what's the difference? On one hand, you've got single jersey. This is that classic, comfy, lightweight feel you know and love from your softest t-shirt. Super simple. Then you've got interlock. Imagine taking two layers of that single jersey and knitting them together back to back. It's thicker, it's smoother on both sides, and it's got a lot more structure. But here's the common thread, if you will. Even though their construction is different, all these fabrics are made from the same basic recipe: polyester and elastane. Polyester brings the toughness and that all-important ability to pull sweat off your skin. And elastane? Well, that's the magic ingredient that gives everything that critical stretch. Okay, next up, fabric weight. This is where you'll see the term GSM pop up. The best way to think about it is like a fabric's weight class. Are we talking about a nimble featherweight or a powerhouse heavyweight? GSM literally stands for grams per square meter. It's actually a really simple idea. The higher the GSM number, the heavier and usually denser the fabric is. So a low GSM is going to be great for, say, a breezy base layer, while a high GSM is what you want for warmth and durability. And you can see this range in action right here. That single jersey at 130 GSM, that's going to feel incredibly light and airy. But compare that to the interlock at 250 GSM, that's a whole different beast. It's a much more substantial material, almost like a light jacket. So right away, the GSM gives you a huge clue about what the fabric is designed to do. Okay, so we know the fabric's overall weight, but what about the individual threads that make it up? Well, that brings us to our next technical term, denier. This is all about the thickness of each tiny fiber. Here is a simple way to picture it. A single strand of silk has a denier of about 1. Super fine, right? Now think about a thick, chunky strand of yarn. That could have a denier in the hundreds. So low denier means fine and delicate, high denier means thick and strong. Easy enough? Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Our chart actually shows two different denier values. The polyester denier, that's the much bigger number, tells you about the main yarn. It's all about the fabric's durability and how it feels to the touch. But that smaller elastane denier, that one is critical because it controls the quality and power of the stretch. Let's just grab one example. One of the single jersey fabrics on our list uses a 200 denier polyester. Now, that is a seriously beefy yarn for a jersey fabric. What does that tell us? It tells us that even though it's a lighter weight knit, it's engineered to be really, really durable. We are in the home stretch. The last two columns on our chart, stitch length and filament, are the finishing touches. These are the little details that really fine-tune how a fabric feels and behaves. So, stitch length is exactly what it sounds like, how long each individual stitch is. A longer stitch can create a looser fabric with a little more natural give. Filament, though, is about what's inside the yarn. Are there just a few threads twisted together, or are there a ton? When you twist 192 tiny filaments together, you get a much smoother, silkier yarn than one made of, say, only 36. And when you put those two ideas together, you can start to really predict how a fabric will feel. You take a high filament yarn, which is already super smooth, and you combine it with a longer stitch length, you're going to get a fabric that feels incredibly soft and flexible. See how all these numbers start to paint a picture? And that's really the whole point. Every single one of these numbers, from the weight to the filament count, is a deliberate choice. These details aren't just details. They literally make the fabric what it is. So let's recap. The next time you see a chart like this, Here's your 4-step plan. Step 1, find the fabric type to get the basic structure. Step 2, check the GSM to understand its weight. Step 3, look at the denier to learn about the yarn's strength. And Step 4, check the stitch and filament for the final feel and flex.
And that's really all there is to it. What looks like just a random list of numbers at the beginning now tells a complete story about each fabric. You've officially got the tools to decode the stuff for yourself.
So, next time you're shopping, take a closer look. Now that you've got this knowledge, which one would you pick? Would you go for that lightweight, super stretchy 130 GSM jersey for a long run? Or that tough, stable 250 GSM interlock for a heavy workout? The choice, and now the knowledge, is all yours.